So let's get straight into it. We're talking customer experience. I'm using the shorthand here, CX. I feel like it's one of those things that gets talked about and maybe people don't really know what it is they're talking about. So Marissa, why don't you go start today? Give us a little bit of a definition, what you kind of see customer experience as meaning.
Yeah, I think from acquisition of a customer, speaking to our customers, bringing them on site throughout the whole customer journey and post-purchase. It's about making a customer feel valued, getting in their shoes, listening to them and feeding back and improving on that as well. And making them get more beer in their basket and enjoying it along the way.
Yeah, and I suppose, for Brewdog, you are the people making the product as well, and that's a product that's not just about the beer, it's about the things around the beer, the being with your friends, the celebrations and stuff, right? So customer experience can really go quite deep for you. Yeah. Louise, I've got CX up there, but, UX is a term that I use a lot, alongside UI and some other things. What's the difference here then between CX customer experience and UX user experience?
So like you said, Joe, I think when you think of customer experience, that encompasses every touch point that your user has with the brand and making sure that you are exceeding customer expectations. So for the case of Big Bus Tours, that could be anything from customer booking a ticket on the website all the way through to the experience that they have on the actual day of the tour. Thinking about that from a user experience perspective, again for Big Bus we have the element where probably most of us in this room are thinking about UX from a digital perspective on our website and app. But we've also got elements of user experience on the day of the tour, like how easy was it for our customers to find the bus stops? How easy was it for them to board the bus and listen to our audio commentary? So what I think is key though for both customer experience and user experience is, really understanding who your customers are. Where are your customers, who are they, and what are they trying to do? And then that way you can really, provide that seamless user experience.
Yeah, and really kind of understand that they are on a journey there. That's probably the key differentiator there, isn't it? Journey versus moment. Marissa, just going back to you then, the reason for us talking about it today and the question that's up there, about, why should merchants care? What difference is it going to make for them to start paying attention to it? Can you just give me an example of some of the kind of business goals and business objectives that putting effort into building a good CX is actually going to give back?
Yeah, so we, taking it from something that we do, we work on a lot of loyalty and bringing customers back, sharing with their friends, as you mentioned earlier, getting beer into the hands of people so they can share it with their friends, talk about it on social media, really kind of bringing people into our community, coming back and purchasing again, but also we've got a wide retail business as well with bars, so maybe they order online and then they go order in bar as well, and really getting them involved at every kind of customer touch point in Brewdog. And yeah, of course, it helps to contribute to sales and building our loyalty community and that customer lifetime. Yeah,
so a real kind of omni-channel view of it, and a kind of investment here might actually appear over here for us.
Exactly.
Ignacio, I'm going to come to you now for your first question of the day. You've got the benefit of working, across, many years, many clients there. As I said at the start, this kind of terminology can kind of get mixed up and muddled. What kind of myths and misconceptions do you find yourself having to kind of break down in order to kind of get merchants to start thinking about CX properly?
I think that maybe it's not just most of the merchants. I think that when you build a site, you need to take care of the customer experience once, and I think it's something that is evolving. By the time you are adding new products and new things in your site, and also people are changing. Sometimes it's not the same people that the ones that are coming to your site to buy in a specific period of time, or even your campaigns are totally different. So we need to seek, some friction points in the customer journey, and then trying to avoid those friction points, or trying to propose something that can, make it easier for them to buy, instead of all the time pushing them to learn how to buy in our stores. So we need to propose to the customer something that is easy, that they can understand by themselves, and then, making it quick and easy. Yes.
It's a real kind of perspective flip there, isn't it? A kind of second topic then, now we've kind of built up a little bit of a case for looking at CX is to think about, how do we then actually do the investment, give it the time, the attention, and all of that. Coming back to you, Ignacio, kind of when do you start discussing CX with your clients? Is it something you do from the very beginning, or is it something that's more like a down the road kind of thing?
I think that at the very beginning, we need to understand exactly what our merchants are selling, which is their relationship with customers, what they're trying to tell the customer, in the journey. All the time we're talking about putting their shoes, there are different type of persons that we need to talk to, defining the audience that you need to attract and pursue to buy in your store. What are you offering that is totally different than the rest, and why you need to offer something different for them. And we do it from the beginning because also that affects the rest of the development, the rest of the project as well.
So a key part of your
of course.
Consultation with clients is that immersion, that understanding.
Yeah, and also understanding what are the needs that they need to accomplish internally, because having a fancy site is nice, but having also, a customer experience that adapts, to every different type of customer, what they need is something that is very, let's say, very costly.
Yeah.
So you need to build exactly what they need, what they can offer to the customers. Sometimes, it's pretty pretentious,
Yeah.
and that they are not already structured internally in order to deliver that kind of information or that kind of content at the right time.
Yeah.
So we need to, balance the expectations of some of the teams across the organization that you're working for.
John, that sets up a really good segue to come across to Louise, because listen to you describe big bus tours, and there's the website, the app, the actual buses, there's the reps on the street. That's a lot of different moving parts and stuff. So who's responsible for looking after the customer experience then?
Yeah, so I think because we are actually offering, an experience in the form of a sightseeing tour, it's very easy to think that customer experience should be the responsibility of those in-city teams, like you say, our on-street staff and the drivers and the people actually delivering the sightseeing tour. But ultimately, whilst we do have a dedicated customer experience department at Big Bus Tours, customer experience should be the heart of everything that you're doing as a business. So ultimately, the responsibility lies with everyone in that organisation, regardless of what department you're in and what your role is. So how we've tried to get much better at remembering that at Big Bus is we've actually made improving customer experience one of our key business objectives for the year. So that way, the objective is it's cascaded down to all departments, be that the tech and e-commerce team or all the way through to the drivers. And it's a really good reminder just to take that step back. We're also busy in our day-to-day work, and taking on new projects and things like that. But actually, you've always got to step back, put yourself in the shoes of the customer, because, what we want to do is deliver a really memorable sightseeing tour and experience of that city. So if what we're working to behind the scenes isn't going to aid that in some way, then should we even be doing that?
Yeah. So having that kind of DNA of the great experience kind of come up through everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
And you mentioned in there about having a customer experience team. What difference does it make to actually have a team or an individual live and breathe this side of the business offering?
Yeah, so just to give some context, we have 23 in-city operational teams. So they're the ones responsible for delivering the tour, New York, London, Hong Kong, for example. And then we have a central support team which covers e-commerce marketing. And that's also where our customer experience function sits. And the reason we think it's important for it to sit there and also be a separate entity is that way you've constantly got someone who is the voice of the customer and the champion for the customer. And again, I think it's just a really good, they're the team that are reminding us to always be putting the customer first. It's a neutral team, there's no conflicts of interest in other things that you're trying to achieve. And also that way they've got access to all of the customer insights. You're monitoring data over time and trends, and again it brings us back to that strategic objective.
So someone who can give it their time and be a really consistent voice in the business. Marissa, what about Brewdog? We've heard there about the idea of trickling down like a business goal, a business aim. How's Brewdog making sure that CX is on the agenda and being constantly spoken about internally?
Yeah, I think it's exactly like what you're saying. We'll get a requirement, a feature, an improvement, a project that might come in from a stakeholder, and I think we just need to start talking about customer experience and how they perceive it right away. So whether it's from previous projects we've run and we've got surveys or post-mortems that we can go through, to running focus groups with, we've got a really big community of our shareholders that we've got a forum that they will definitely tell us the honest truth about our ideas and what works for them and what doesn't, and that's really important just to bring that in right at the start and not try to kind of push any other agendas, is making sure we've learned and we're kind of moving on from other kind of features that we've built, and bringing that into everything that we do in the future.
That's great. So, I mean, kind of one of the challenges I think with customer experience is that it can be just so big, and it can be really hard, particularly when you're working with individuals who maybe only see one part of the puzzle, to kind of get them to see the bigger picture. So, you know, I think trying to make it tangible, try to find a way to kind of communicate across the team is so important. I think one of the things you can do here is to try and describe what good and bad is. Ignacio, just to kind of come to you, we've heard a few examples of how Big Bus Tours and Brewdog kind of strive for a good experience. Could you maybe give me an example of kind of what it is we're trying to get away with? What does bad experience kind of really look like?
But I prefer, instead of saying specific things, maybe, you know, what are more or less, you know, all the time the same patterns that customers comes, you know, and my customers, my merchants, you know, is that ceasing expectations is something that most of the time is like ceasing the expectation of the final customer in the site. You know, what are they gonna get? What are they gonna buy? Or what is gonna happen after that? You know, and I think that customer experience is something that needs to take care of all the cycle. What's happened before the intention of buying, in the buying process, after sales, you know, and then what we can do for them in order to come back to our sites and buy again, you know, and we need to think about it in the whole process, not only just, you know, in the website. Yeah. That's why we have, you know, we're going to talk like different touch points. So we need to just think about global thing, you know, not just only one particular way of journey in the website. And do you have a way that you try and capture that for them? Are you doing kind of mapping stuff for them, diagrams? Like what kind of tools have you used to try and help articulate this for clients? First of all, when we talk to our merchants at the beginning, when we develop a site, normally you get the input from one person, you know, because you normally talk to the e-commerce manager. The e-commerce manager, you know, internally in the organization, they need to talk to different type of resources and people that, you know, because an e-commerce site is touching base across all the company. Need to talk to customer care, you know, financial invoices, and you know, provisioning, logistics, you know, and in every single point of that, you know, there's kind of be a gap or friction in the customer experience. So I think that most of the time we focus as well in the asking topics and things that are happening with the customer care. I think customer care is one of touch points that must, you know, how we talk to them, how we seize expectations to them, how we resolve or not resolve, you know, their demands and the problems. And I think, we focus on that most of the time. Okay. But in terms of tools, there are many in the market, and we have our own handbook in every single company, right? But asking the right, it sounds to me like asking the right questions and getting beyond the web team are critical things there. I'm guessing like another way you can make this tangible is to put some numbers on it, right? Marissa,
give me an idea of some of the ways that at Brewdog you're measuring the customer experience there. We've heard a lot today about conversion rate and revenue. Like, what metrics are you talking about for this topic?
Yeah, so we use NPS, which I'm sure loads of people do, and monitor that very closely, actually weekly. We kind of talk about it and talk about what influenced that number. We also look closely at CPO, so contact per order, because we notice trends. If people are coming in about a certain product, then we need to maybe then go speak to logistics. If something's not packed right, we need to change something. And maybe it's a good thing. Sometimes people are just contacting us to send us really cute dog photos of their beer, and that's great too. So those are kind of the key ones. We work with, work a lot with, like, even, it's not super measurable, but like social proof as well. So if people are snapping photos and posting them on social media and getting anecdotal stories of how Brewdog and beer has influenced their day, their party, gifts for somebody.
So kind of looking at more that kind of sentimental, kind of emotional side of it.
Yeah.
That's maybe a little harder.
Yeah.
But you know there's a little bit of gut feel.
Yeah.
On that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. So, how can we start acting on it? That's going to be the key thing here. If everybody's, sold and they're thinking, great, well, I want to actually take action. I want to be better at this. Let's start thinking about what they can do here. Coming back to you again, Marissa, you've spoken there about, looking at the metrics and having those discussions. So, kind of how does customer experience fit into your strategic planning when you're looking at kind of what are you doing for the next 6 to 12 months? Like, how does it factor in as something that you think about?
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously we work off of a roadmap. We like to build lots of cool, innovative features, but I think it's really important within that to weave through improvements to the customer experience, whether it's acquisition or whether it's in their My Account section and how they manage and talk to customer service, and really improving those customer touch points to make the customer feel a bit more heard and loved, and also make sure that we're doing the right things on our site to help kind of monitor our metrics in the way that we want them to go as well.
Yeah. And Louise, what about yourself? We've heard some examples there about looking at what's being said on social media and customer support queries about as being kind of like a voice of customer way of getting an idea where there might be a pain point. What kind of other things are you doing to kind of identify pain points that then might turn into a roadmap item as a fix?
Yeah, so of course we've got the online element and the offline element. So we monitor, we try to use a range of different platforms to get insight. So thinking from a web perspective, we use heat mapping tools like Hotjar to identify if there's any parts of the website that a customer's getting stuck on. Similarly, Google Analytics to understand fallout on the checkout, for example. On the website, we have a huge proportion of mobile users. So if you think of our customers, the majority actually are already in city when they decide to buy a bus tour ticket. So it's really important that we are delivering, good mobile experience. So we also use NPS on the website from time to time. And then we have live chat functionality if anyone does need human interaction. And we also have a customer care team. We've got the feet on the ground as well at Big Bus. So we've got the customer service representatives, the drivers and the guides who are dealing with the customers. And I think one of the cool things at Big Bus is actually from time to time we take the tour to just remind ourselves and really bring it back to everyone as to what we're doing at the end of the day. And something our customer experience team like to say to us is, whilst getting positive feedback is great, there's not actually a huge amount you can do with it. So whilst it is painful to get a bad review or negative comments or complaints, actually from that you can take tangible action to improve the customer experience.
And that's that key part about that mindset that I mentioned at the start is being in that kind of having that sense and respond loop set up and being vulnerable to that feedback in a way where you're willing to then go, well, let me do something about it then. Ignacio, I want to come back to yourself. It's very easy sometimes to come up with lots of ideas. It's then much harder to actually be able to do them all. So kind of what kind of things do you what kind of conversations do you have with merchants to kind of prioritize things and pick out the things that will, yes, solve a customer problem, but actually still have a great impact on the bottom line?
Yeah, quick wins. Yeah, I think that we prioritize by, there are certain things in the site that you can just change that, got a lot of impact, in conversion and in any KPI that you want to achieve. So I think it's common sense, at the end, mostly all the problems that our merchants have are very easy to solve. And sometimes you just need to look around how others are just doing exactly what you want to do in another way, that you find out that there is a friction there, and then you propose to our customers, to your clients, and then they decide more or less which is the way they should do, and after that we need to make them to give them an evaluation about the effort. But that we prioritize, but little effort, big impact. Yes.
Yeah. And making sure that those kind of that gauging that impact isn't purely about revenue, but starting to blend in kind of other like the kind of metrics we've spoken about already as well.
Coming back, yes.
Yeah. So we've heard a little bit there about kind of a few hints there at kind of voice of customer stuff there. I'd be interested though, Ignacio, thinking across your long career, like how many merchants do you think really, they say they kind of know the customer, they say they know what the customer wants, but how often is it really true?
It depends on the tools that they're using, and I think that they need to be conscious about, that they need to know the customers, their needs, and there are sometimes, also happening that we just need to push our merchants to change the offering in the site as well, because they are not providing exactly what the customers are really willing to buy in the site. And this is because they don't really know, what are exactly the needs of their customers. Sometimes we propose to final customers, a lot of options that they don't even need, and then maybe we just need to make things easier. Less is sometimes more. Even in the product page, and sometimes that you just need to be focused on decisions and then going ahead, because just little differences between too many options are making people think too much and stuff like that. And that's there are tools that they may use, they may analyze, and they may have people in the back checking with marketing guys and what are the goals that they want to achieve, and then trying to build best customer experience possible. Yeah
Definitely. I think that's a great example there of how it isn't just always about usability. It's not always about the color of a button or something like that it is about the other bits that then feed into how that page came together. Marissa, can I ask you, okay, we go and, open our ears and we run surveys, we do the NPS stuff, we look at what's coming via customer support. Can you give me some examples of maybe, where you've really been surprised about the input you're getting from customers, where it's really kind of made a light bulb flick or a decision change because of something you've got back?
Yeah, I think the surprising thing is I think you can be so close to a project or a feature that you're always kind of learning something new when you actually get the customer feedback, when you're, you put something out there and you think, oh, this is perfect, and then you get feedback and you're like, oh, I didn't think about that. I'm trying to think of an example. I think we started a subscriptions club, and one of the things is that people are really keen to know when they're getting their order because it's kind of changed and evolved and everything. So one of the things we're working on is to make sure that that's really, really apparent to the customer, and that they can kind of self-serve that for them as well. Because that, as soon as their subscription comes out, they want it right away, which is great, and they want to share their beer with everybody. And so it's just kind of listening to those pieces and making sure that we don't think that it's never a finished product. We keep going and listening back.
And again, as I've just suggested, that with that sense and respond loop, that's the key thing, that it isn't listen, do, and hope. Yeah. It's listen, do, listen, do, listen, do constantly, right?
Exactly.
Let's just kind of wrap up kind of thinking about some a few more examples then, just to kind of illuminate it better for everyone. Ignacio, can you give me maybe some examples of, maybe one will be enough really, of kind of where your agency has kind of gone in and really made a difference to the CX for somebody?
For example, we have a pretty big team, and I'm very talented in B2B, and the way customers they buy in the B2B solution is totally different. Even if right now things are in terms of design pretty much the same. You can expect more or less the same level. But I think the way customers in B2B they buy totally different. They go there for working, right? So we have a customer that is selling beer as well. They're selling beer for the hotels, restaurants. They provide everything for the restaurants and bars, and the way we propose the products and how we merchandise and all the products are totally different. In terms of amounts, in terms of the way they should add to the basket. And we just need to facilitate to them, that they're working, so they need to do it fast and quick and easy. So we just provide the information that is relevant to them. We don't need to pursue too much to them to buy something because they already know the products,
Yeah.
So the customer experience in this case for them is better, right?
Yeah.
Quick and less and easy is better.
And they're kind of thinking about that. Like you said, the customer coming to the site, and we often talk about kind of customer intent, but I also like to kind of talk about customer intelligence in terms of what knowledge do they already have of the product and the service,
exactly.
Right? And again,
so they provide first, the products that they commonly, buy together in bulk, So yes, of course.
Louise, you've obviously, your example with Big Bus Tours. A project could very easily have a ripple effect across the journey there. Has there been a web project that you've done where we've made it, there's been a change to the website and then there's been a kind of knock-on elsewhere for you?
I think, as I said, we have a huge proportion of mobile users, and it's a very competitive market, and we know that we've got to deliver the right message at the right time. So we have got much better at how we showcase, for example, the ticket offering. We know customers want to know what tickets are available, how much it costs, and what the routes are going to be, which leads me on to, we identified a pain point actually through our customer service hub, which was customers were really struggling to understand how they found a bus stop, and also to know how long they'd be waiting for a bus. And off the back of that, we were able to put in some live bus tracking functionality. So if you're in London, for example, stood at a bus stop, you can see the next bus is going to be in 10 minutes, and you can see the buses, on the screen, which is quite cool. So that's really benefited that way. So it's just really trying to keep the communication across all teams going.
A really close link there between digital experience having a direct impact on real-world experience for your customers there. Mm-hmm. Marissa, last question today is for you. In the kind of conversation we've had in the run-up to today, you kind of mentioned about the changes that had happened at Brewdog over the last couple of years, and I think backstage you're just telling me about some of the upcoming stuff that you're doing to the website. So how has the pandemic kind of changed the way that Brewdog looks at customer experience and the focus it puts on it?
Yeah, I think our e-commerce business, like most over the past few years, has grown exponentially, and there's a lot of, we would move quickly in the space, and I think now it's taking a look at how we kind of keep customers. We've introduced a loyalty program, lots of surprise and delight initiatives as well, so surprising people with some merch just for being a loyal customer, for being a new customer, really bringing them those touch points that makes people feel not just like they're ordering from a website, but they actually feel like they're really valued and that we're excited to have them as a part of our community. And we're developing our loyalty program even more from just being a rewards-based system to an actual community, and looking at how we can develop it so we get people talking and sharing their beer experiences and their Brewdog experiences as well, and bringing it across into our retail space, and kind capturing people there and getting people talking and humanizing the digital experience in our bars as well.
Fantastic. That's great. That's great. Well, that's it. That's all the questions we've got time for today. If I could just ask you to give a big thank you, please, to Louise, Marissa, and Ignacio for their time.